everybody, it's MicheleMarieDalene, and of course I'm going to try to answer some of the many questions asked by a group of people in Albania who wanted to know something about me, my life, and yeah, I gotta bring the camera down a little bit here. Okay. So first of all, as I want to say to all of you overseas, thank you very much for being a participant and being viewers, and hopefully maybe we can exchange videos, and maybe this might be a useful way to share and exchange ideas. First of all, I don't have all your questions memorized, so I'll answer as many as I do remember. The main question in U.S. was about cat care, and income where you don't have a lot of resources. Well, first of all, not everybody here in the United States has a lot of resources either. In fact, there's a lot of us who are very poor. I don't know anything about the movie Wolf on Wall Street to give you an honest comparison of the way America appears in the movies and the way America appears in real life. But first of all, let me explain one thing. What you see in cinema is not necessarily what reflects what really goes on here in the United States. There's a lot of poor people, and there's a lot of well-to-do people. The part of the country I live in is very much like the foothills of going into of the suburbs of going out of your capital of Tirana. I did do some research into your country ahead of time to at least have an idea to know what I'm talking about. Yes, I do know that from the documentary it talked about how goat and goat's milk is a major agricultural product of Albania, so I do know that. And I also do know that it was around 1990s when the communism tyranny came to an end, and of course since that time you guys have seen much growth in your country. Unfortunately, in the rural areas, which is very mountainous, very much like the Blue Hills of Kentucky, there's a lot of people in your country that has suffered some significant hard times. There's a lot of places like that here in the United States too. So there's not just, but like I said, I live in a suburban type area, not too far from Hartford, Connecticut, which is our larger city, which is our capital city. My neighbors are predominantly downtown with a variety of incomes. Most of us are pretty poor. We don't really have a lot of money. We do get by. And also, we talked about the soup kitchen, and of course, one of your gentlemen asked me what kind of soup we had today. Well, actually, the soup kitchen doesn't just serve soup. We also have other things as well. Like today, we had pork sandwiches. We had with some salad and a few other things. Sometimes we come up with good food, sometimes it's kind of blah. It's just a luck of the draw. I don't really have any say what the soup kitchen serves. Basically, the only thing I can say is I eat it or I don't eat it. Usually I do, but unfortunately because I'm allergic to mayonnaise, I can't eat mayonnaise. So if it's mayonnaise, I have to refuse it. If it's not no mayonnaise in it, I can eat it. So I can't tell you specifically much about our soup kitchen, except it's a very busy place. A lot of low-income people come in there to congregate and eat, and they do. There's a lot of people who have hard times just like you do. So let me answer your first question about the cats. Come here, Fame. Fame, come on. Okay, my cat's sitting off camera. He's kind of just wondering what's going on. The best care for your cat you can do is preventive care. That is, I know it's cheaper to get your cats down to the vet and get them the proper shots and have a checkup and physical than it is after they get sick. That's true with any animal or even people. people. Here he is. You see this guy in camera? Yeah, Mr. Fat Ass. Okay. Is that, yeah, you know, it's easier. Oh, cat, you shed like crazy. I gotta brush his fur again. It's easier to get the cat their shots and have them checked out, make sure you're healthy. I'm sure that somebody in Albania must have somebody who's trained as a veterinarian, or maybe who works with livestock, that can get the proper medicines and proper facilities to make sure that the cats and the dogs are okay. It's really hard to really care for a pet, a cat or a dog, after something bad happens to them, such as a terminal illness or things like that. It's not only physically difficult to do financially, but of course it's difficult emotionally to see your beautiful animal, which you're entrusted to care for, waste away, and then have this sense of helplessness that you can't do anything about it. So it's best to treat it before it becomes a problem. The other thing is like I said, I'm going to try to answer all your questions I can. I don't have them in front of me, so because right now where I am, I don't have access to my printer, so I couldn't print it. So everything I'm doing here now is pretty much from memory. One question asked is the new porch going to be physically bigger or smaller than the old porch? Well, from what I can see, it looks like it's going to be the same general size footprint, and similar configuration to the original porch. What you saw in my earlier video is just like I saw in documentary. Some of the buildings at Tirana, which really were falling apart. Well, the porch was kind of like that too. The new porch is probably more than likely is going to be made out of pine. Pine here in the United States, especially in the Northeast, is the most common building material besides concrete. We use a lot of pine because pine trees are everywhere in this area. You mentioned about bear attacks and bears. Yes, we have bears. We have brown bears, and we do have, I think we have some black bears. We have black bears mostly. I'm sorry. We might have a few brown bears as well. Most of the time, the black bears pretty much stay to themselves. They don't really get out and try to make trouble for us. But because we're in the countryside, we do see them. They sometimes do get into town, such as Worcester, Torrington, and do create havoc. They are, because they are our neighbors. We share the forest with them. You know, we have to learn to respect them, and they have learned, for the most part, to respect us. We know that the black bears are much more willing to forage for food in people's homes. We've seen that happen many times, where a black bear has gotten into a home and has stolen food out of refrigerators and things like that, especially when after the hibernation ends. If it ends early and there's no natural food outside, the black bears will go ahead and rummage around garbage cans and things like that. We also have raccoons. A raccoon is a kind of an interesting creature in its own right. They don't have them in Europe, but we have them. And we have, of course, cats and dogs and a few other animals as well. The thinking. Well, I guess that answers most of your questions. As far as do I have advice for people in your hardships? You mentioned about the crash of the bean agriculture. I think that's something that I see a lot here in the local economy too. Is our economy locally has also suffered a significant decline. It's the only thing I think I could give you for advice right now, based on personal experience, is you just gotta hang on. You just gotta just try to make do with what you got, and don't, think that, it's never going to get better, because it will. I mean, sometimes you got to be inventive and creative and coming up with new products and new services that's going to help you and your families to continue to provide for yourselves. I don't know much about your social environments over there, but like I said, I hang out at the Soup Kitchen, which is where I meet many of the local people who sometimes, give me information that I can use and information I can share with you. Plus, of course, I've been keeping up with the other issues in the world events and news too, such as the economy. And I do know what's going on in Greece, and I do know that after the fall of your socialism, that your country has suffered significant hardships, but the lack of funding and lack of money that you could get in the bank. So that's what's going on in Greece. In fact, I've been hearing that Greece, if they don't come up with a bailout, is going to be, the banks are going to be bankrupt by Monday. I don't know what the solution would that be. I do know about the desire for Greece to exit from the European Union, so I do know about that. I don't know how Albania compares to Greece, except of course I know that my landlord is from Macedonia. He tries very hard to speak good English. It's not always easy for him. He tries very hard to talk to people. So he's obviously from the former Yugoslavia, and so he knows a lot about socialism and of course the Iron Curtain, because he's been there when he was a young boy and a young man, and then he came here to the United States in 1972. So he's certainly seen a lot. He, like many other transplants, have found that there's a lot of things here in the United States that is just a little bit difficult to understand. In some ways, first of all, he has developed a businessman personality that says, I'm going to maintain my business, and I'm going to make an income, and I'm going to support my family, and I really do congratulate him for his efforts. Of course, I do know his family. I know them very well, and they're really nice people. Now, you also asked me about Ed. Ed MichelemarieDalene, that's his last name, is doing very well. However, he and his girlfriend are having some issues in their lives right now, as they are between homes at this point. I don't really know how much information I should divulge, so I won't go too crazy here. I'll just say is that just like a lot of Americans, they're coping with hard times financially. It really is, it's almost like, just like there's a bit of a level system, if you will, between America. I mean, you got your poor, which is a good portion of the American people, and then you got the slightly less poor. Think of it as a three-layer cake, and the layers kind of are not really solid with frosting between, but there's rather just more like a tiramisu. It just kind of mixes till you get to the very top layer. And then you got the really well-to-do. They're really, really thin layer of the cake. It's not really very thick. It's that's the 1% that runs everything else here in the United States. The United States is more of an oligarchy. It is a business. Business runs the government, basically. It's not quite fascism, but if you look at the movie Wolf on Wall Street, or I know another movie called Greed, there is definitely some parts of the United States that is very much at the manipulation of big business, and then there are other parts of the United States where big business really just doesn't really interfere. However, big business is like a cancer. It is growing extremely heavily. In the agricultural regions of the United States, which is the Midwest, which would be similar to the Ukraine, you got your big businesses that are like the Del Montes and Conagra and stuff that are making huge profits, whereas the small mom and pop farms in the same area are failing to keep up and are slowly being sold out, and the land is being bought by big business to expand the commercial farming, which is hurting, of course, the farming. The people in the suburbs, which is where I live, a lot of them are kind of between places. We have a lot of youngsters today that don't have cars, and they're not interested in driving cars, so they're moving closer to the big cities, such as Hartford and Bridgeport, New Haven, for example, where they can have access to public transit and that they don't have to worry about driving a car because it's cheaper that way. And I do understand that. As a legally blind individual, I don't drive, so to answer the other guy's question who asked about my landlord's truck, 6.9 liter engine? Yeah, probably. That sounds like my landlord's right. It's a Ford pickup truck. It's a white Ford. It's got a bed liner in it. It's a pretty basic truck. Gets him what he gets to go. Gets his material to the different properties he owns and things like that. Now, I also want to first of all apologize if one, the sound sucks, or two, I'm out of frame. I don't know if I am or not. I basically, right now, this is not my main studio. I basically am just trying to do this video sitting in my temporary lodging accommodations. I do have my tripod set up, but I don't know if the camera is centered. I try, but you know, I can't help if it's not. I just try to get this out to you within a reasonable period of time, because it is technically Ask Me Anything Fridays. So I kind of thought it was Thursday, but then I realized Lemmy told me it was Friday, and so therefore we decided to try to speed this through and so you can watch it. By the way, the porch, as I said, is going to hopefully be done in about 2 or 3 weeks. I hope. But then I got to figure out how I'm going to transfer all my phone lines back to my main building and all that. And like a lot of Americans, I'm struggling with some financial expenses that just enough to choke me alive. But I'll make it because I have the support of many people who are always there behind me 100%. I always can use your help. You can always use your donations and assistance. So if you guys at least feel like you could spread the word and let other people know about my videos, and that would be a great thing to see more people watching them, and maybe more people from across the pond, meaning the Atlantic Ocean, to get involved and ask questions. And we can get somewhere with this. And we can go and start a great dialogue about different places. Unfortunately, like I said, I couldn't find too many documentaries in Albania. I found one that was halfway decent that was in Albanian. I found another documentary that was in English that was going to be meager. And then I found the last one, which was the most comprehensive of all, and told me about the lay of land and topology, which helped a lot me to understand your culture in your country. But for the time being, I'm going to let you go. And I want to thank you very much for watching. And again, please do not forget to like or dislike, share with your friends and family, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. And I hope that other members of the group will do the same thing as well. And of course, any comments, concerns, questions, down here in the comment, concern, question section, I will read them. I'll do my best to come back with you with a timely manner with the answer. Okay? Thank you guys. Bye-bye.